Testing 1, 2. How do you hear me?
Sibilance.
Welcome, friends, family, Cold War aficionados, paranormal researchers, UFO enthusiasts, and government overlords. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you stay a while. I'm your host, Andrew Hall, and this episode is going to be a little bit different from our regularly scheduled programming. Dead Hand Radio is known for its focus on the Cold War, UFOs, and the paranormal because those are topics that I'm interested in. But I'm also a huge fan of science fiction, and for that reason, I sometimes invite guests from the world of art, movies, comics, books, games, pop culture, and everything in between. Which is why tonight's guest is podcaster Mr. Jamie Ray. Jamie is the founder, creator, and host of the massively popular Fave from Fans podcast, a fellow member of the Slightly Irregular Podcast Network, and a returning guest on this show. Welcome to Dead Hand Radio, Jamie.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you for that incredible welcome. I mean, hugely popular. I mean, come on, but thank you.
Hey, it's hugely popular in my mind, man. You're one of the most famous podcasters I know, brother.
Well, thank you. I love doing it.
So last time we were together, Jamie, we were doing an episode for Dead Hand Radio, the Halloween special, which has, it was a good episode. We talked about some cool stuff, and I encourage everybody to go check out that episode. I don't remember what the name of it was, something about ghosts in the bayou or something like that, maybe, because you're from Louisiana.
That's right.
But that was last October, so we've been trying to get together. How have you been since then?
Oh, been good. A lot of things have happened in the last couple of months that have changed me as far as the program has gone. I'm no longer in the original plastic microphone studios. I'm now set up in what we affectionately call the man cave. And so this is actually the first time I've ever done this audio and video streaming. So I'm very excited. So I had to, prep so that everybody could see my good stuff.
It's great, man. The studio looks beautiful. I love the artwork that you got back there. That guitar is premium. I really like the way you got your studio set up, man. It's beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate it. One of my pride and joys, let me move this way, is I made some custom boxes for all of my different ROM collections. Because I have them in newsstand and I have them in regular subscription, and then I have IDW, and then all kinds of other stuff. So I keep them right there behind me for easy access.
So one thing I will add to your bio for the next time we do this is a member of the geek culture.
Yeah, I would proudly wear that. I've got both my Star Trek tattoo and my Superman tattoo.
Oh, very nice.
So I'm covering them all the realms,
Yeah. Well, where's your Superman Batman tattoo? When's that one coming on? Right there on the desk.
No, it's actually. Oh no, never mind.
No.
It's not that kind of show.
No naked drummers on this program, man. That's one of my. That's a really good movie. Not one of my favorites, but a really good movie. The Rocker.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember that guy's name.
Rainn Wilson.
Yeah, Rainn.
Yeah.
And he's a drummer, and he plays in the basement of some Asian restaurant, and it's so hot down there that he takes his clothes off, and that's what makes the band famous.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that one. Oddly enough, I do have a Family Dollar Blu-ray version of it, and I've never watched it, but it's on the list. There's so many DVDs I've got on the list.
That's a good one. Yeah. That one and The School of Rock.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, two of my favorite rock and roll movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. I've seen that one over and over again.
Yeah, I like that one too. So is there anything that you want to talk about real quick before we get into the program, the twist, as I call it?
Well, I would like to, I'm pretty excited. Now that I've got everything kind of back onto a roll, we're going to start having more episodes of Complete Disarray with Jamie Ray, which is something that I kind of did instead of making lists and stuff. We just pick one topic and I have a guest and we just talk about it. So it's kind of just like this, kind of like a jam chat session stuff. And then probably in June, I will have another show that's going to be coming out. And so Fave 5 has moved to probably every other week. And then we're going to kind of dot the other ones in there. So if you're out there, keep watching the skies, because there's going to be a new show coming.
Definitely. So this is a dual episode, which it means that we're recording live, and the video will be available on this YouTube channel in the future. But we're also, you, Jamie, are also going to release this as a podcast on your channel, Fave 5 from Fans.
Right.
And then in just a minute, you are going to do an intro for that program. And then we'll get into the topic of tonight's discussion, which is our 5 favorite planets in science fiction.
Right. So this episode will be released on my platform. It'll be May 14th. So your viewers and our listeners can pick it up there too.
Right on. So now, strap in, dear listeners, and prepare yourself for a wild ride on the Sci-Fi rocket train with myself and Fave 5 from Fans host Jamie Ray, a.k.a. Hulk Boy from Hollywood. Take it away, Jamie.
Beaming to you from the Plastic Microphone Studios, deep in the heart of Cajun country, this is Fave 5 from Fans. I'm your host, Hulk Boy from Hollywood himself, Jamie Ray. If this is your first time joining us, then welcome. We're so glad to have you. And if you're a returning guest, remember what we always say, no refunds. Now, let's get started. Welcome, Podcast Universe. Today, we've got a truly stellar episode lined up for you. And what are we talking about today, you may ask? Well, we're going to be discussing the Fave 5 planets from science fiction, movies, books, games, any media that you wanted to have. And just who is my interstellar guest? It's none other than fellow SIP Network podcaster and host of Dead Hand Radio, Mr. Andrew Hall. Welcome to Fave 5, and let me tell you what a pleasure it is to have you on the show. Thank you so much for the invite.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure for me to be here with you, Jamie. I know this has been some time in the making. We've had some technical difficulties. We've had some scheduling difficulties, but it's going to be a great show. I'm looking forward to this.
We have overcome. So, like you said, I've been on Deadhead Radio a couple of times before. We got to talk about post horror. No, what would you call it? Nuclear Cold War movies.
Cold War movies is what.
There you go. There you go. And that was fascinating because I learned a lot about the real stuff where, I'm more about the media of it. And then that really cool episode that we did that turned into so much more than I was ready for with the Halloween episode. And what you did with my reading of The Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar. Bravo, my friend. Bravo.
Hey, bravo to you too. That was a good episode, and the UFO story and the ghost story you shared was off the chain, man.
Yeah. I don't have many instances like that, but those are crazy.
Yeah. Those
are crazy. My grandmother, we could literally do a whole show on her. She had so many different stories, but it was great. So now I get you on my show. And now it's my rules, and I am so looking forward to go through the galaxies and universes of sci-fi with you and find out your Fave 5 planets. So before we get started, why don't you tell us, do you have anything going on special with Dead Hand? You want to tell our listeners where they can actually see this?
Yeah, we're live streaming, but before we do that, I'm going to say real quick, because we are live and we got a guest in the chat room, and that's Luis Jimenez from the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Dude's got a smoking channel. He's a UFO advocate. He's out there doing some great things for the UFO community, and hats off to you.
Awesome. Welcome, Lou.
Now, as far as Dead Hand Radio, you can check out the live stream every Saturday at 7 p.m. and
Pacific
every
time.
Pacific time. Yeah, good call. And every Monday night at 5 p.m. Right here on YouTube. And you can find it real easily by going to deadhand.tv.
Cool.
All of my content is available at andrewhall.com. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, a little bit of Instagram, and but my website is where I post everything.
How about your MySpace page?
What is that? Do those even exist anymore?
They actually do. They were bought by some music company, and on a lark, I went several months ago and just typed my old Cargo Bay 13 in, and it's still there. And I was like, wow, who is that guy? He has hair.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I think I do have a MySpace page, but I've never used it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I even have a GeoCities, but I think it's been taken down.
Wow. That got bought up by Yahoo. Man, we're going way off the topic.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the
That's all right,
stuff.
though.
So we're talking about what are we talking about tonight, Jamie?
We're talking about our favorite planets from the sci-fi universe, and I really opened it up so that you could do pretty much, if it was in a movie, a TV series, a book, a game, anything that stood out to you that was a true sci-fi planet. And so what I did is I asked you to make a list of your 5 favorites, and secretly I made a list of my 5 favorites. And so now we're going to sit down and compare them 5, 4, 3, all the way down to 1.
Cool.
And do you happen to have any honorable mentions on the show?
Yeah, actually I do, man. And as a matter of fact, it was hard for me to whittle down the planets because there's so many cool planets. I mean, like I said, I'm a huge fan of science fiction, always have been since I remember. And, going through the archives of all the movies out there, all the books, games, that I've ever experienced, and trying to pick only 5 planets.
It's tough.
Yeah, that was tough, but I did, and I threw in one honorable mention. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, let's start with that one.
Okay, so the honorable mention that I have is a harsh planet within the Igneon system. Okay. One of the most inhospitable worlds known. It is home to the dreaded Crematorium Slam facility, a subterranean prison facility constructed to house the worst of the worst criminals in the galaxy. And I'm talking about Crematoria from Chronicles of Riddick.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Didn't even think about that one.
Oh man, that's just the whole planet was created using CGI. The visual effects in that entire franchise, the Riddick franchise, is just incredible. Yeah. And the visual of that planet with the melted mountain peaks, and the sun, the temperatures range from 700 degrees Fahrenheit in the daytime to minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit at night.
Oh, now. Look, my boy's coming with some research.
Oh yeah. I did some research. I won't go too far down that on this one, but Chronicles of Riddick came out in 2004, and a notable quote that I picked out of, off of one of the websites that's out there: "If I owned this place and hell, I would rent it out and live in hell." That's from the bounty hunter Toombs, the bounty hunter who captures Riddick. And
that's awesome.
Slam. Yeah.
Oh, that's good choice. So you just had the one.
That's the only honorable mention that I wanted to include, but because I did do a lot of digging on these picks, because I wanted to, really like make a case of why these are my favorites.
Okay. All right. Well, I have 2 honorable mentions, and I think you're really going to like my honorable mention number 1. Because it is a planet located in the M344G system. And it's known as being the location of the Hunter-Gratzner crash. And I'm talking about the desert planet from Pitch Black. the first
okay.
movie.
Yeah, good one, man.
I really like the way that they lined up the three suns,
Yeah.
for the total eclipse, and those animals that came out, the bioraptors, I think they called them. I just thought it was a very cool planet, and the thing I liked about that movie was it was a legit movie. There wasn't a ton of CGI. The characters, I mean, the creatures were, but the rest of it was pretty much practical effects. And and it was kind of interesting how the next movie took a whole different approach to it. Equally, I enjoyed that one too. I never saw the third one. I don't know why.
That one was just Riddick, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, but Pitch Black. The cool thing I like about that movie, aside from just it being a really
Badass.
Unique, it was a unique story at that time. It was something that I hadn't seen before, but the treatment, the color treatment they did on that.
Oh yeah,
and I think it was because of budget constraints and they were on such a really bright location where they had to use filters to dim down the scenery and it looked so alien, man. It really really captured a cool look.
I agree with you.
I just love that movie too.
Yeah, well, that's a good one. That one was tough, not to have on the list because I really liked it. But the second honorable mention is actually the home world of the pseudo arachnid, and I'm talking about Klendathu from Starship Troopers. That's the planet, the bug planet that they go to. I was a big fan of the book by Heinlein earlier, and I really liked how the description in the book matched what they did, in the movie. And it's just this, flat, little hills here and there. But when those creatures come out, they come out of all the different holes from around the planet. Just not a vacation planet for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen that movie.
Oh,
and I absolutely know that I haven't read the book. So
yeah, I am a huge fan of retro futuristic sci-fi. So stuff that was in the 50s and 60s, and interesting reads about what they thought the future was going to, and how some stuff came to true exactly like they were imagining, and then other things were just so way off because they never thought about the internet, for example. But very cool books from Heinlein. If you ever get a chance to read them, several of his books became movies. Anyway, don't want to get too far off, but Klendathu is my honorable mention number one, which means that we are at your Ophelia. Am I saying that right? Ophelia of our lists. So let's hear what your number 5 is. That is a astrological term for 5 planets. I mean, 5 moons around a planet.
Oh, okay, cool. Ophelia.
Ophelia.
All
yeah,
right.
that's not what, like when you say, "Yeah, brother, I feel you."
Right.
Totally different.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna drop some little nuggets on you too, some little knowledge nuggets about these films, and so my number 5 choice is a hugely influential film in the science fiction genre, and the correct pronunciation is, actually, I had to look it up, but it's Acheron, formerly known as LV-426.
Yes, sir.
The first appearance of this planet was in the movie Alien in 1979.
Right.
It was also featured in Aliens, the sequel, in 1986.
Yeah.
And it's the starting point of one of the scariest science fiction franchises, space franchises, that, in my opinion, that's out there.
No, they're amazing movies, except for the last 2 that I really enjoyed. Even 3 and 4 are fun. You just have to watch them in a certain mindset.
Yeah, it's that first movie is still my favorite of the entire franchise, although Aliens is a very close second.
Mhm. Swap them for me.
Oh, okay. Well,
uh,
hey, no judgment, man, but
nope.
you're wrong. That's all I have to say about that.
See, that's the great thing about this show is it's your favorite.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't have to defend it. You just say that's your favorite. And I'm with
See,
you.
but the cool thing is we're talking about the planet. It was the same planet in both movies.
Right. Just again, not really a vacation spot at all.
Definitely not.
Horrible winds, even without the little eggs everywhere. It's not a place that you wanted to go. No, I'm with you. That's an excellent choice. Excellent choice, sir. So I'm going to have to parry that with my number 5. And I think you're really going to like this one because I'm going old school. I'm going back to what is known as the amusement park planet or the shore leave planet.
Oh, yeah.
From the original Star Trek episode 17 of season 1. Shore leave was the name of the episode. And you know the one I'm talking about.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great.
Where Kirk meets his old flame from whatever college or the academy. And his worst nemesis, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they go through the whole episode beating each other up and laughing about it at the same time. I thought that was a great episode.
And you get the White Rabbit, and you get Sulu. He gets to defend the honor of the lady and everything. Just a lot of fun. It was an uninhibited planet in the Omicron Delta region. And Starfleet first came to it in 2267, like we just talked about, that they found it to be lush, but they had no idea that there was underneath it this huge computer and factory that would basically generate whatever you were thinking at the time. And so it was really cool once they figured out what it was. But man, you were just along for the ride until you figured it out.
You just reminded me of something, man.
Mm-hmm.
There is, I probably shouldn't say this. There's a movie that preceded Star Trek that was heavily influential on Star Trek. And in that movie, there was a similar concept. And I'm kind of wondering now if Star Trek didn't actually, because like I said, it was a heavily influential movie on Star Trek and other movies as well.
Yeah.
But there was a concept in that film that I'm thinking was a direct influence on this particular episode of Star Trek.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, do you know the name of the movie?
Absolutely. I didn't want to give any spoilers, though.
Go ahead. Tell us.
The Forbidden Planet.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah. Several times. That's the first Robbie the Robot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
I have to be
you know what I'm talking about then, right?
I do, but at the same time, I don't remember a lot of the specifics.
Oh, okay.
For me, it was a lot of the time that I remember most from that movie is a lot of time when they're on the ship, and just seeing the svelte young Leslie Nielsen.
Okay.
So.
It was a trip. The first time I saw that, I was tripping out, and again, we're going off the topic. But if you ever check that movie out again, just to see what I'm talking about, focus on the part where you said it manifests their deepest wishes, their deepest desires.
It's on the list. I'll go back and watch it.
Cool.
So in the meantime, why don't you gaze through your Barlow lens and reveal your number 4?
Number 4. Number 4 was tough because I wanted to put it higher up on the list. And the reason that I did is because the movie that this planet is featured in is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a harsh desert world orbiting twin suns in the galaxy's outer rim. In the days of the Empire and the Republic, many settlers scratched out a living on moisture farms, while spaceport cities such as Mos Eisley and Mos Espa served as home base for smugglers, criminals, and other rogues. And I'm talking about Tatooine.
Tatooine, baby.
Which is the first planet you see in the Star Wars universe.
That's right. That's right. You see it from up in space, but still, you're right. You're right, and that's what we really got. And that's what the dunes of Tunisia, right? In the real world.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was partly filmed in Tunisia and partly filmed right here in Death Valley.
Oh,
Not too far
wow.
from me.
Okay. I read somewhere that when they went back to do episode 1, that some of the sets and stuff were still up because they left everything. They just, last day of filming, they packed up the cameras and left. And like the hutches and some of that stuff, it was still there. So
it's
pretty awesome.
If it's still there now, it's probably buried. The first appearance for that planet was in Star Wars 1977. And it's the introduction to the Star Wars universe in my mind.
It is. No, I mean, it is, you know. That's a wonderful choice, man. So much so that I think I'm going to have to give you a planet from another movie in the Star Wars universe. And if you look over my shoulder, you're actually going to see a travel poster for Hoth.
Oh, yes.
The sixth, the sixth planet in a remote system of Hoth as well. It's as we know, incredibly cold, full of wampas and banthas. No, banthas are Tatooine.
That's right.
It's tauntauns.
That's right.
Yeah. You know, and this is where we see, you know, the AT-AT walkers, and then we get to see the snow troopers for the first time. And I really love that because I was only 7 when I saw Star Wars. And yes, it was hugely influential, but it was when I was 10 and saw The Empire Strikes Back that's when I wanted to be Luke Skywalker. Yeah. You know, and so every time I watch that, it's just my favorite scenes, and it's my number 4 favorite planet.
Killer movie, awesome choice for the planet. I totally agree with you, man. That should absolutely be on the list.
Yeah,
but when you only have 5 choices, man, you gotta cut out something.
That's right. That's right. So we've reached the meridian of our lists. So give us your number 3.
Okay, so this number 3 planet, my choice, is our nearest celestial neighbor besides the moon.
Mm-hmm.
As far as we live on Earth, our nearest celestial neighbor, the 4th planet from the sun, and the 2nd smallest planet in our solar system, only larger than Mercury. It's named after the god of war, and I'm talking about Mars.
Yes, sir.
Now, the reason I picked this planet is because it's a real planet, but it's been featured in so many great science fiction movies, from The Martian, John Carter, Total Recall, to movies that are a little bit more like futuristic. Well, I guess The Martian would be futuristic, but The Red Planet, Mission to Mars, Ghost of Mars, and Last Day on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
It was also featured as the home planet of the alien invaders from the movie War of the Worlds. So that's the reason why I picked number 3 as Mars.
Definitely a good choice. Like you said, it's a real planet, but there's been a lot of sci-fi wrapped around that planet, probably because it is our closest neighbor, aside from the moon. Yeah. People could see it for a very long time, and so there was a lot of speculation to it. So that's an excellent choice. Excellent choice.
Thank you, my man.
My planet for number 3 is a fictional planet in a galaxy that's no longer there. I'm talking about the planet of Superman's birth.
Oh, okay.
Home of the Kal-El and Laurel and the whole El families, Krypton.
Yeah, there you go. Good choice.
Thank you. It made its first full appearance in Superman number 1, summer of 1939, created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. It's also, Krypton is the native world for Supergirl, Crypto the Superdog, and Power Girl. Of course, it's from another dimension, so they call it Krypton too. But it's made appearances in everything from The Adventures of Superman, Lois and Clark, Smallville, Supergirl, and it even got its own series, Krypton, on the CW. And its film debut actually came in the '78 Superman, which was a really cool version of it. I got to see, again, like you do, the actual physical models more than the CGI stuff like we get now. So Krypton was my number 3.
All right, so since we're getting close to the top of the list, let's take a little break and talk about Superman, the Superman franchise. Who's your favorite Superman, and which is your favorite Superman movie?
Okay, so my favorite Superman from TV and film, or in all and wherever?
Oh yeah, wherever.
I'd probably have to say it was probably the Kingdom Come Superman. That's one of the reasons why I have his tattoo. I really thought that Alex Ross and Mark Waid were able to take someone that we were super familiar with, and just like all of us who grow older and things change around us, and those kids and their loud music, and Superman was the same way. And so I really liked the way that they brought him back, and then later on in some of the other follow-ups that, you know, they were good too. But those first 4 Kingdom Come issues, they're probably always going to be my favorite. How about you?
That's cool. Wow. I didn't expect you to retort.
You got to be ready.
So yeah, favorite Superman. You know what? I'm just going to go with the Action Comics issue that he appeared in, man, because that was the launch of the entire comic book industry. You know, that turned the comic book industry to what it is today.
Yeah.
And without that issue of Superman and that iteration of Superman, we would not be where we're at with comics, movies, video games, you name it.
Oh, I agree. And it's kind of cool when you go back and look at those first appearances, the way that he seems to almost be wearing sandals, you know, like Roman sandals with the wraps,
Really?
you know, around. Oh yeah. They quickly went to the boots, but you know, those first, I don't know if you've ever gone back and read those first Supermans, but they are crazy. I mean, he would do stuff like to just scare the pants off of criminals, throw them up and, you know, in the air and go and catch them and stuff. And that was some crazy stuff back there. But that's a good choice. That's the OG.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, well, okay. Well, you want to swing back around to, well, let me see. Checking my universal timepiece, it seems that it's time for your number 2.
Okay, well, we're blowing through these like I didn't even think it would go this quick, man. It's like eating pancakes, right? Before you know it, you're full and you can't eat another bite. So my number 2 planet is the 3rd planet from our sun.
Okay.
It's the 5th largest planet in our solar system, made up of 71% liquid water, populated by nearly 8 billion humans to this day. And I'm talking about Earth.
Earth,
our planet.
Oh, our planet.
Terra firma. So Earth is ground zero for so many great science fiction stories, from alien invasions to post-apocalyptic nightmares. This planet Earth is by far one of the most interesting planets in sci-fi. And if I can take a couple extra seconds, here's a list of the greatest sci-fi films that feature Earth as the setting for the story. The Mad Max franchise, Book of Eli, King Kong, Godzilla, Blade Runner, Predator, War of the Worlds. It quite simply is the most popular setting for most science fiction stories, and rightly so. The exquisite diversity of its landscape and breathtaking vistas stimulates the imagination unlike any other known planet in our universe.
Yep. So I'm going to put this to you. Earth stories. Do you like it better when we're invaded, or when we get together and then go out and invade another planet?
So there's very few stories where we actually go on the offensive in the intergalactic war scenario.
Mhm.
And I'm actually hard pressed to think about any films where we actually go to another planet to invade it, other than the one that you were talking about before,
Starship Troopers.
Troopers.
Well, I mean, you got to think Star Trek. They all start from
Did
Earth
we
and
did
go
we
out.
go
And
invade though? Did
when
we
we
go?
do the Mirror Universe stuff, it's all about the Terran.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's right.
So
I
that whole
forgot about
story, and then you've got Ender's Game, where they go and fight, and well, I won't spoil the end of that movie, but they go out into space for that. There's
I don't remember that movie.
Oh, you haven't seen Ender's Game with Harrison Ford,
No.
based off of the uh, Oscar Scott, Orson Scott Card's
Oh, okay.
books about Enders. If you've never read those are some amazing books.
Okay.
The movie, it would be hard to do the movie just like the book, but it was very good. It just came out a few years ago, and it wasn't very well received, but I really enjoyed it. It was nice to see it up on the screen.
So if we're talking about alien invasion movies, the scenarios that I enjoy the most, I think, is where the aliens come here to take us over, and like what is it? Battlefield Los Angeles? Is that or
Yeah,
Battle Los Angeles? Um, that is the best scenario, I think, rather than just w- Earthlings get their butts kicked. They get their tails handed to them, and then a freak like um, act of nature happens and wipes out the aliens, and we don't even have a chance to fight back.
yeah.
That's not the scenario I like. I like the where the Earthlings actually fight back, and through ingenuity and technology, we're able to actually fight them off.
I'm with you. I'm
So
with
those
you.
are the ones I like.
Oh, cool. Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, my number two is one that should be very familiar to you. It is one of the three known moons orbiting Calpaeus in the Zeta 2 Reticula system. 39 years from Earth, 39 light years from Earth. I'm talking about Acreon LV
Oh, right
426.
on. There you go, man.
Yeah.
Bravo.
That's such a great movies. Again, Aliens is my favorite from '86. I loved it so much that when I was on with when I had Hope and George from the Fright Club on, Hadley's Hope was one of my favorite killer towns because it's such it's like the old west of planets, because these guys go out there to basically terraform this planet, not full scale terraform, but they go in and they do the mining and all of that stuff, and then they meet their neighbors who don't come over for a cup of sugar, and it's a really interesting environment. It's like got 0.86 of Earth's gravity, so they could kind of move around a lot easier, and so much in it was like I think it was described by Cameron as being called, it was named after the stream of woe, or the branch of the river Styx, about how it forms the pathway into Dante's Inferno. And that's just a great, just like you said earlier about the planet, the crematoria planet. You'd rent hell out and stay there. I mean, rent it out and stay in hell. You wouldn't want to go back to this planet for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I will agree with you that the Aliens movie, the sequel, it definitely features more of the planet, as to where the Alien movie, it's just like a cameo appearance.
Right.
The reason I picked that film was because that's where it all started.
Exactly.
But the as as far as an action movie where you get, the humans actually making fighting back against the aliens, um, and oh man, what was that actor's name? Um,
Michael Biehn,
no, the other dude.
George. Bill
Yes, Bill
Paxton.
Paxton.
Hmm.
Yes, he had some of the greatest
He did.
uh, one liners in science fiction in
Yes.
that
Yeah.
film.
Book it out, man.
Yeah, it was just great. It was a great film, and that planet is just amazing and
Yeah.
scary,
Oh
scary.
yeah, yeah. I heard someone once, and I wish I could properly credit them with it, but they said that Aliens was a true sci-fi action movie, and Alien was basically a science fiction haunted house movie. And I loved that description
Yeah,
and the analogy between it being a haunted house because it has that, the xenomorph in it. And but anyway, great movies, and never forget the Nostromo who discovered it, like you said. And not too long from now, it's discovered in 2122, so just in about 100 years.
oh wow, those are cool. I've seen a few of those where they do like a timeline of a real world timeline of science fiction movies or stories when they take place. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting to go back and look at what's going on right now in the sci-fi universe. Like
Yeah,
Blade Runner is what was taking place around. Oh, I think it was actually 2019 when Blade Runner was supposed to take place.
yeah.
But there's a couple of others that are going on right now.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're so right. Well, I guess then, if we have done all of these, we are now reached the culmination of your list. Please reveal unto us your favorite sci-fi planet.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So my number one fave five from fans sci-fi planet is none other than the fifth moon of the gas giant Polyphemus of
Oh,
the
I'm
gas giant Polyphemus, which orbits Alpha Centauri A in the Alpha Centauri system, the closest star system to our own sun. It's Pandora from the movie Avatar.
got
That
you.
is my
Okay.
number one. Okay, so here's some little tidbits of knowledge on that one. Pandora was named after the mortal woman from Greek mythology, created by the gods to punish Prometheus for stealing the fire and giving it to humans. Prometheus stole the fire, gave it to the humans.
Right.
So the gods created this woman, Pandora. She was a beguiling creature of beauty and given a jar, which is often referred to as Pandora's box,
Mm-hmm.
which upon opening it would unleash all sorts of death and mayhem and basically wipe out humanity. Um, and that name for this planet was quite appropriate because the surface is absolutely incredibly beautiful, gorgeous. I mean, it's filled with bioluminescence and exotic creatures, full of beauty and natural resources that the humans wanted to exploit, but they couldn't breathe on that planet. They had to use their technology to be able to survive on the planet, and that's how the Avatar came into to being, because they created um, an avatar, which is basically a clone of the indigenous Navi, who were basically the Native Americans. They were basically the same. They endured the same plight as the Native Americans. I thought it was a brilliant way to bring light on that part of our history. But not getting too far off the topic. The planet itself is just absolutely gorgeous. First appearance, Avatar 2009, and there's three sequels coming out very soon where it'll make a reappearance. Written and directed by the incomparable James Cameron, and one of my all-time favorite. I mean, probably in the top two and it'll flip flop with one or two other films as far as my favorite sci-fi film of all time.
Excellent pick.
Thank
So, there's also, you can see parts of Pandora. There's a ride at like Universal Studios where it's all new stuff created just for the ride.
Wow.
Yeah, we went on that ride, and it was you're kind of like in a hang glider, and it goes
cool.
around. Yeah, it's very cool. I really enjoyed it. Great choice, man. Great choice. Cameron can knock him out. That's 2 on the list. So before we go to my number 1, I'm doing something I've never done before. I have brought up an honorary favorite to go along with my favorite. Because if I got on this show and my ROM pals found out that Galador was not on my list, I would never hear the end of it. Now, it's not my true favorite because on the list, it's not really sci-fi. I mean, it's comics. It is science fiction-y, but I didn't really feel like it fit into the science fiction realm. But Galador was a beautiful planet filled with humanoids, very much like us. And when the dire wraiths came to attack their sun, that's when all of them got together to fight them, and the Space Knights were born. And they went out and fought against them and managed to throw them back out into the universe. And then the Space Knights went all the different ways to try to catch and defeat them. So I have to throw that in there. It was way more important than an honorable mention. So that's going to be my honorary number 1.
Well, your ROM buddies are happy.
Yes.
It's always good to keep the friends and people that brought you to where you are.
Exactly. Lee would never let me live it down if I did not mention them. And Aaron and a couple of other ones. So anyway,
shout out to the crew.
There you go. Shout out to the crew. So my number 1, oddly enough, is your number 3. And I'm talking about Mars.
Awesome.
Yes. I was sitting here checking things off along the way that you mentioned, so we don't talk about them again. And I was biting my tongue because I was like, oh, that's my number 1. That's my favorite. But I'm also just astounded by the sheer number of movies, books, TVs, comics, all of these different things. So a few of the things that you didn't note, obviously you're a truncated list because I appreciate you. We're on target for time, but we can't forget that. Have you ever seen the Antonio Sabata Jr. 2009 movie Princess of Mars, where Tracy Lords starred as Deja Torres?
I have not seen that.
And
I don't watch porn though, dude.
No, it's actually not. It's actually not porn.
Really?
This was her. She was a pornographic actress, but she left that world behind, and she was on like a Stephen King. I think she was on the Tommyknockers and a couple of other movies. But it probably would have been a better movie if it were porn, because, well, I don't want to bash anything on the show, but it's okay. So then there's 1968's Mars Needs Women, where mostly takes place on Earth, but the Martians send it to collect them. One of the women they collect was Yvonne Craig, who would go on to become Batgirl. And then you did talk about War of the Worlds. The first time we heard about it as being the invaders was the 1938 radio drama. And then I actually have this album, and I was blown away because I never even knew it existed until I saw it in the store. David Essick and Richard Burton, the actor, did a musical about it where they play just kind of this rock opera type stuff, and he talks over it and tells, really out there. Then in '88, they had another radio drama with Jason Robards, Steve Allen, Hector Elizondo, and Odo himself, Rene Auberjonois. Which was, I've listened to it, 2005 Tom Cruise movie. BBC had a 3-episode miniseries just a couple of years ago. Did you catch that?
Well, of War of the Worlds,
Yeah.
it was a TV series.
It was a 3-episode miniseries on the BBC.
I did see something recently,
Hmm.
uh, and it may have been that one. There was a couple recently that came out recently. There was a TV series that's ongoing that's totally different.
Right.
That's kind of on the fence with that one. But there was another. It might have been that limited series that you were talking about that I
Hmm.
saw. Was it?
Yeah.
Did that one take place in the time period that it was written in?
I
Like the
actually
1800s?
hadn't seen it. That's why I was hoping you had seen it, so you could
I
talk
think I
about it a little
did.
bit.
I think I did, and I think it did take place during the 1800s or
Uh-huh.
early 19. Yeah, it was definitely 1800s because there was no automotives. Um,
Well, the book itself is set in England. I think it's in London, as a matter of fact. So it would be perfect to do parts of it over there.
well, yeah, the one that I'm thinking about now, and I think I'm misquoting it. Gosh darn it! I think it might be on Amazon Prime. So if
I'll
you
have
have
to,
Amazon Prime, take a look.
I
But
will. I'll have to go look at it. Mars Attacks is one of. I love that movie. It's
I've never
so
seen it.
weird. Oh, you should see it. It is crazy. If you ever collected the bubblegum cards, it is like those cards come to life. It's great. And then one of my favorite movies about when we go to Mars, but we don't actually go to Mars, is Capricorn One from
Yeah,
1978.
cool
And
movie.
yeah, Dave and I did an episode about that for a podcast from another world,
Great
and
movie.
I love that movie, and it really holds up even today, especially now with all the CGI and stuff. But then in books, of course, Edgar Rice Burroughs refers to Mars as Barsoom, and in the 11 books from John Carter, Warlord of Mars, and there's actually a book that has been approved by the Edgar Rice Burroughs family as the 12th book that's coming out this year. It's called Gods of the Forgotten. So I'm
Cool.
really interested. Those books were tiny back then, and I remember having them. My uncle had them. These beautiful, I think it was Boris Vallejo covers. It was early 80s, I think. Loved those. But then Heinlein, he loved Mars too. He wrote stories called The Red Planet, The Green Hills of Earth, which you have to read it to understand why, because it's actually very Martian. The Rolling Stones, where Mars is a big factor. And then you jump over to Ray Bradbury, of course, which wrote The Martian Chronicles, which are a huge collection of short stories, including one of my favorite stories that's called Usher 2, which is a sequel to The House of Usher, but it takes place on Mars. Really great. If you ever get a chance, it's a very short little story, but it's wonderful, especially if you like Poe. And that is why it's my favorite sci-fi planet.
Well, bravo, man. I like your number one pick. Like I said, it would have been, well, it could have been my number one, but Pandora is just, such an imaginative, completely mind blowing visual that
Yeah.
that's my number one.
Oh,
Um, but we could talk about Mars more if we got more time because
oh,
Mars, we are about to. Well, first of all,
so wait,
the
before we get down there, let me do one thing. Lou, if you're still on here, do you have a planet that you especially like from sci-fi? And if you do, please type it up into the chat because we'd love to hear what it is.
yeah, good call, man.
Yeah.
Good call.
So go ahead, tell us more about Mars.
Well, if you're keeping up with modern day news of what's going on Mars, we just recently NASA just recently launched a helicopter
That's right.
on Mars.
I know how
And,
so cool.
yeah,
Did you get the realization of how close it was to some of Da Vinci's designs for how
very close.
it was very cool, but I guess because of the lower atmosphere and the gravity differential that they have there, a regular one wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So that was very cool. I want to go ahead. I mean, continue on, but I'm going to find something. I want to read it to you.
So I think we've flown twice, and it's scheduled for 4 flights. And if the equipment holds up, they're going to continue to go longer.
Yeah.
But aside from that, Elon Musk's making leaps and bounds progress on his vision quest of actually sending humans to Mars. So, dude, you and I may see humans on Mars within our lifetime, man.
Yeah.
That's so exciting to me.
So I can't agree with you more. But do you realize at this point in history and time that Mars is completely populated by robots?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, you don't think about that, but yeah, it is.
Yep, it's complete. It's all robots.
Robots.
So
unless
they haven't shown themselves yet.
Stuff living underground that we don't know about yet.
So I want to jump to another planet real quick, though, because I found it. So you know that all of the moons of Jupiter are named after his lovers and affairs, the god Jupiter. Okay. So NASA created a craft to send out to Jupiter to, do its own evaluation and something. And do you know what they called it?
No, I'm not going to waste time thinking about it.
They called it Juno.
Okay, that's right.
Which is Jupiter's wife. So wow. NASA is sending Jupiter's wife to check on Jupiter and his lovers.
Oh, that's funny.
I cannot believe the guy who must have come up with that in NASA and was like, hey, wait a minute.
Right.
Oh, that's so fun. As cool as science fiction is, these days, science fact is just as cool. To find out that we can do and go to these places. Now the moon, everybody's talking about going back to the moon. The Chinese have their eyes on, parts of the moon and stuff. It's just a very interesting time. And I'd be interested in another 100 years, what science fiction writers of today, what they get right and what they get wrong, especially about space.
That's interesting, because when I did a whole science fiction series on right after I did the Halloween series, I did a whole science fiction series.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked several of the people that were either in publishing or writing or book reviewing, what are some of the things, what are some of the trends that science fiction writers are starting to gravitate towards right now? And it wasn't really the technology or the new discoveries that are out there. Like, to me, the intriguing thing about science fiction is the futuristic technology or the worlds that humans go to, migrate to, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But what several of the people that I interviewed said is that a lot of these new up and coming writers are focusing more on more down to earth issues, more like global warming, diversity. Characters, like the characters are more diverse. So it's like they've kind of stepped back from doing the more predictive type of science fiction, like you saw with Arthur C. Clarke and those guys, who were basically projecting out hundreds or thousands of years what technology is going to look like and what human, evolution is going to look like down the road. Now they're talking about more of like humanistic viewpoints that are affecting our modern day world in a science fiction setting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I articulated that well, but
I got you.
One of the trends.
Oh.
And I found that pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of different than what I expected it would be.
For me, movies and books are an escape. So a lot of times when I read something, I don't necessarily want it to be reflective of something that's going on now. I want an alien world with, I don't mind if it's like Star Trek did, and they're doing parallels. Gene Roddenberry and his writers were really great at saying, okay, these guys are black on the left side and white on the right side, and we don't like them because we're right on the right side,
right.
black on the other side, and it automatically you knew exactly what it was. Right. But I like the ones where, if you ever read any of these Orson Scott Card books, the second book is all about this race of aliens that are their hive mentalities, and so it's so different from anything that's going on. I like the escapism of it.
Taking a quick step back, I just wanted to say, one of the things about films where we see Mars featured in films is that they have to film those landscapes, those vistas, right? And they have to make it appear to be on an alien planet,
right?
But they have to film it here on Earth. And so some of the places, like you had mentioned with Star Wars, they go to was it Tunisia?
Mm-hmm.
And Death Valley and different places like that. And those places exist here on Earth. One of the most unique and strikingly beautiful places in the U.S. that you could see is a place that's often featured in films about Mars, and that's Moab, Utah.
Right.
And if anybody has an opportunity to go see Moab, Utah, definitely go up there and see. I haven't seen it other than pictures, but my dad's been up there many, many times, and he said it's just one of the most unique landscapes on Earth. It's like being on an alien planet.
Yeah. Well, I heard not NASA, but one of the other groups that has been tasked to make a new suit for astronauts, they go out to Death Valley, if I'm not mistaken, because it's so hot, to test the suits to make sure they can keep the astronauts cool. And it is like another world right here on Earth.
Well, astronauts are the reason that they're picked to go into the space program is because they're 10 degrees cooler than every other human on the planet.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, they're that cool.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Because I'm thinking, a little bit of astronomy jokes.
Yeah, a little bit of dead end humor right
there. We should have one of the ramp to do.
Right. Bad joke. The bad joke alert.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, good. Well, we're right about an hour. I guess you ready to start wrapping it up?
I sure am. If you want to go ahead and wrap up your end, and then I'll do a wrap up on my end, and we'll call it a day.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you for a sign off when you get to it, just so you're not caught off guard. Well, great. Well, I'd like to thank all of you out there in the podcast universe for joining us for this stellar episode of Fave from Fans. Don't forget, you can subscribe to the show pretty much anywhere you can catch a podcast. We're on iHeartRadio now as well, and you can always ask Alexa to play Fave from Fans for you. But just make sure you enunciate it, or you're going to get some weird recipes. So I would like to ask you as well to please consider leaving us a review, a 5-star rating anywhere you listen to it. But if you go to Apple, that would be a great one as well, because that'll cause more people to see our show, more people to join in and listen in, and that's the way that we're going to grow the show like a fungus. We'd also love it if you interact with us on Twitter, on our website, Facebook, any of the places. And I'm not going to say the gram, because I have been corrected too many times on that. But I am going to say we're going to have a Pinterest page up pretty soon. And this week, I'd like to give a special shout out to Seth the Mad Scientist, otherwise known to the Twitter community as @BeerNut1. Seth is a horror movie and beer lover who loves a lot of film and of reading. Seth is a big supporter of Fave 5, and we look forward to his coffee shout-outs every week. He hails from Columbus, Ohio, home of our own Fright Club's Hope and George. This cup's for you, Joe. This cup of Joe's for you, Seth. Well, that's it for this episode. Andrew, I want to thank you again for setting up this stream and delivering some incredible choices. You are just out of this world.
Well, thank you for having me on, and thank you for doing this collaboration, Jamie. It's been awesome. Always a pleasure to hang out with you and shoot the breeze. I look forward to doing it again, man.
We will. We're going to have to pick our next topic.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, this is Hulk Boy from Hollywood signing off. Boom. All right.
Cool. So, all right. With that, ladies and gentlemen in the chat room, I think everybody's gone from the chat room, but anybody that's watching this after the live stream is over and you're watching the replay of it, make sure you check out Jamie Ray's podcast and all of his contacts. Check out AMI Studio, or God, that's my company. This stream has been sponsored by no. Check out Dead Hand Radio, andrewhall.com, and like and subscribe. I never say that, I always forget. I'm kind of rambling now because I usually don't go this long on closing out the program. But thanks for watching. Check us out on Monday night at 5 p.m. I got a really cool two guests coming on to talk about UFOs and what's happening in Canada with the UFO problem. And
speaking of UFOs,
hold on, man, pop that up here.
It's
Earth versus the flying saucers.
Yeah. I can't wait to build it. It's going to be so cool. You can build it where it comes out like this. It's clear.
Awesome.
Oh man! So I got to put that together.
That's cool. You know what? I wanted to ask you, man. I see all this artwork, beautiful, gorgeous artwork on the back of your.
Thank you.
On your wall out there. Is how important in your mind is artwork in the world of science fiction?
Oh, I think it is incredibly important for movies and for comics and TV, but it's as equally important that it's the writing that describes the things. Because, like I said, I grew up reading. I read comics when I was growing up, but I read books. I tore through Asimov, Bradbury, Heinlein, all of the greats. And those were, I never saw anything on the screen or any, like that. So it was always the descriptions. And it's kind of cool because your mind, it plays the movie in your head. But as far as these medias are concerned, I find it's very, very important. So most of these up here are cover recreations that feature ROM. You've got over here the Iron Man number 100 with Howard the Duck in ROM's outfit. And then this is a $6 Million Man book cover with ROM. And of course, Amazing Fantasy 15. This is Jamie Cosley's. This is ROM Thumb, which is a little thing he does. And then this is ROM drawn by Al Milgrom, who was one of the artists on the original ROM. And then over here, these two things I got with a wonderful artist and fellow ROM pal, Preston Acevedo, and we came up with covers to what was going to be a fan version of issue. Let me show you. Issue 76 and 77 that take place after ROM is turned back to human. But this is, I didn't want to, it's, but anyway, we created these. So on the first one over here, you see it's Carnage, who's shown up to fight ROM. And then here, he's on top of, the new Empire, the new Twin Towers building. Mm-hmm. You could see from the so it's kind of brings it into this world, and because a Dire Wraith and a Venom have forged together, and so they're like unstoppable.
Cool.
So yeah, but for me, art is very important. I can't draw, but I'm very lucky to have met some really cool people along the way. Square Hernandez, Matt Hernandez, did this cover for me. Richard Wentworth, who worked on the IDW ROM, he did that one. And then this is one of my favorite pages from any ROM comic. It's a recreation done by an artist in Mississippi, but I could never afford that page. So it's just, but for me, art is very important for any of those medias. That being said, if it's a book, you better be able to explain enough so that my mind can take over.
Cool. Well, just real quick, shout out to Scott Brown for showing up in the chat room.
Hey, Scott.
Checking out the live stream. It was Jamie and I. If you're just coming in, Jamie and I were going through our five favorite planets in science fiction. So it was a little bit of a lighthearted program, and it's going to be available on Jamie's podcast. A couple weeks? You said?
A couple of weeks. On May 14th is what I'm shooting for.
Right on. Cool. Yeah. But it'll also live here on the Dead Hand TV channel as well. Now, as going back to artwork, man, it's always been influential to me. I've never been good at drawing, but I do graphics. I do visual, computer graphics. And that's what I do for a living. That's my business.
Oh.
But in my mind, the cover art is what draws you to the book. So to me, the most important thing in any medium is the visual. That's just my mind. My mind is always visual. Mm-hmm. So if you pick up that book and the artwork sucks, I don't even look at it. Right.
Yeah.
So that's how important that artwork is. And then, like we were talking about tonight, with some of the films that we discussed, it was just that the visual experience that really stands out for me in my mind. Yeah, hugely influential. I'm a comic book fan, movie fan, love all the visual media.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. Scott, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I've been creating over the years. So this is kind of like my domain, but appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, just if you don't know, Jamie, Scott has been a recurring guest on Dead Hand Radio.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's a UFO researcher, investigator. He runs a Facebook group called In the Field, where they study photos and videos that are submitted by the UFO community as legitimate UFOs.
Right.
Scott and his crew over there In the Field just take those videos and photos apart, piece by piece, break them down and really try to identify which photos and videos can stand up to the test of scrutiny.
Yeah.
It's amazing work. It's wildly important work that he's doing for the UFO community.
Thanks, Scott. We appreciate that.
Definitely. All right, man. And thank you, Scott, so much for dropping by, man. It's good to see you. Always great to see you, my friend. But with that, I think we are going to call it a night, and we're going to end the stream a little bit early, man. We usually go about 90 minutes. We got through what we had to, and I think it's cool, man. We get an early night off.
There you go, brother.
Cool. All right,
thank
Jamie,
you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks again for doing this. We'll do it again soon, my man.
Sounds good. Have a great night.
You too.
Good night, Scott.
Good night, everybody.